the New England Patriots. I will try not to take an hour on this specific team, but this team is interesting. Very interesting, right? So the Patriots, of course, their number one need is quarterback. Sign Tom Brady, please. And I'll get into the plan if Tom Brady does not come back. All right, so the Patriots, they have a lot of free agents. I think they really have more important free agents this year than I can remember, but they always seem to have important free agents. I think it's just that Tom Brady makes it even more... you have to look at it differently because Tom Brady is he's gonna make a lot of money because he's a quarterback. So it makes it harder to re-sign your players. But it seems like every year the Patriots are flipping good players on their team. I mean, their left tackle last year made a record number of money at left tackle in Trent Brown, and Trey Flowers made one of the biggest contracts at defensive end. People forget that they had those guys last year, right? So those guys are not on the team this past year. So they flip players regularly, and their players go for a large chunk of money, just like Joe Thuney will this offseason. Let's start with the quarterback position. So I do believe right now that Tom Brady will be a Patriot, and I'm going to stand by that until he goes somewhere else. I just look at it, and I don't think there's many options for Tom Brady in terms of where he is going to actually be able to play. I think the only two realistic options that are better than New England, than re-signing with New England, are possibly San Francisco and maybe Tennessee. But, okay, two things here. San Francisco is a better team. I think that's the only team. If they said, we want Brady, they would get him over New England. Other than that, and then you also have to think of they don't have a lot of salary cap, so they would have to get rid of Jimmy somehow and then get Brady, right? Other than that, Tennessee, Derrick Henry's a free agent, right? Conklin's a free agent, so that makes that team a lot less attractive. They have to re-sign Henry, and they won't get back Conklin. That's arguably a worse offensive line than New England has it if they lose Conklin, right? So those are the only two teams. Maybe the Raiders. I would give the Raiders an outside chance because they have a lot of money. They have draft capital. They could be good in short order if they had Tom Brady. But I just don't see Brady wanting to revamp his entire offensive mindset, change his entire scheme, and go play for John Gruden's offense. It doesn't make sense to me. I think Tom Brady's back in New England because Tom Brady's not going to want to change his offense. Tom Brady is going to want to go somewhere where he can win. And that's a short list in the NFL, especially a short list that doesn't have a quarterback, right? Teams that are going to be able to win this year most likely have a quarterback. You're talking about the Chiefs. You're talking about the Ravens. You're talking about the Saints or the NFC teams. You're talking about 49ers, right? Those teams mostly have quarterbacks. The only one that's interesting is the 49ers because they asked for Tom Brady in a trade before. That's his hometown. And Jimmy is an okay quarterback, but he's not great. So I think Brady is back. Now, if Brady is not back for whatever reason, I think that I hate the Andy Dalton ideas. I don't like the Teddy Bridgewater idea. These are the quarterbacks looking at, okay, first off, Dak. I'd love to have Dak. It's not going to happen. He wants too much money, so cross him off. Drew Brees is going to New Orleans, and I'll get to that when we get to the Saints, which is going to be probably in 2 hours. Ryan Tannehill could be an option. I think of any of the free agent quarterbacks that make sense, Ryan Tannehill makes the most sense. I think Belichick likes him. He's a good athlete. He's a pretty decent quarterback. Belichick knows him well because he played in Miami, and he played Miami a lot, and he studied him a lot. I think Tannehill is only getting better, actually. And I think Tannehill is probably the closest in actual skill to Tom Brady, other than Drew Brees. So other than that, I mean, I would welcome Jameis Winston, but he just doesn't seem like the Patriot type of quarterback. But I would love to see it because, one, it would be exciting, and two, he's a baller. He makes a lot of mistakes, but he's a baller. And with this defense for New England that they have, I think you could afford having Jameis Winston throwing 4 touchdowns a game and 4 picks, because I think even if you threw 4 picks a game, you would still be able to stop them most of the time from getting a touchdown, so you would win. But anyways, that's my Jameis Winston theory. Other than that, I think you have to go with Stidham. My plan, if Brady leaves, is go with Stidham because I actually think he can be good. And I actually think you give him a chance, and this is my thing with if Tom Brady leaves. If Tom Brady leaves, look at all the free agents that the Patriots have. Tom Brady leaves, Joe Thuney's leaving, all right? Jamie Collins is going to leave. Kyle Van Noy is going to leave. Devin McCourty, if Brady leaves, is probably going to be like, I'm going to leave too. I'm going to go play. Maybe I'll go play for $5 million with Kansas City, or I'm going to go to the Giants and make $20 million. You know what I mean? So a lot of these veteran players are not going to want to come back if Tom Brady is gone. So I might as well just start over, go with Stidham. If Stidham's good for the year, you keep him. If he's not good, you get your top 10 draft pick and you draft a quarterback next year. That would be my plan, because this is, I think, the oldest roster in the NFL. So they're ready to win now with Tom Brady. And if they are not having Tom Brady, might as well rebuild. That's my theory on quarterback. Okay, hopefully I didn't spend too much time there. Wide receiver and tight end. Obviously, if they bring back Brady, regardless, they need wide receivers, they need tight ends. I think the options here, I don't think they're going to be able to get Amari Cooper. I would love to get Amari Cooper, but I just put that out there for fun. AJ Green. They would have to trade for AJ Green. The thing with AJ Green is, he's a win now option, but how healthy is AJ Green? I think, honestly, the option and the player that the Patriots are going to get is a player we don't know of yet. Is a player that maybe it's a guy that's in the last year of his contract that you could trade for, that's not overly expensive, but he's a good receiver, and you could grab him. Maybe it's Stephon Diggs. Maybe it's Odell. Maybe it's like Robert Woods. Maybe it's one of these guys out there that you could grab in a trade for a decent price, not a lot, but is not going to break the bank for you in free agency, and is, because I think the Patriots need a number one receiver. To me, adding Emmanuel Sanders, I would love it, but I don't think it really changes a lot. I think it changes a little. It makes them better, but I don't think it makes them a lot better. I don't think it makes them win a Super Bowl team to me. But if they add like Odell, if they add Stephon Diggs, then I think they're a Super Bowl team again. That's the difference, because you add that number one weapon, which they didn't have last year. They didn't have a Gronk last year, which the defense has to pay attention to. So that's my theory on that as well. I don't like a lot of these options in free agency for the Patriots. I like Emmanuel Sanders. I don't think Robbie Anderson fits, because I don't think they're a vertical offense. You could re-sign Dorsett, but I think he'll go somewhere for more money. I don't mind Randall Cobb. That's not a bad option for this offense. You tried the Demaryius Thomas thing before. These names aren't great. Now, tight end is interesting, because I do think they should sign a free agent tight end, and my pick would be Eric Ebron, because I do think that he is the one that can replicate Rob Gronkowski's red zone production, because he's done it before. He did it with Andrew Luck, and I think Brady is really good with tight ends and really good with big targets, and I think Ebron would really benefit. He's very athletic, and even though he doesn't block well, he's a really good receiver, and he does get open, and he's tough to cover. So I like Eric Ebron. I think Hooper is going for too much money, and I don't really think Hooper is amazing. I think he's good, he's solid, but I don't think he's worth the money he's going to get. Hunter Henry, if he's on the market, I would love, but I don't think he's going to be on the market. But if he is, he's definitely an option, because he's the best all-around tight end in free agency. Jordan Reed, if he's healthy, he would be a great signing. Tyler Eifert, same thing. I believe he will be healthy. I think Tyler Eifert is the guy most likely that lands in New England, because Belichick has already raved about him, and he's the type of signing that won't be very expensive, and he's actually a pretty good receiver and would be a massive upgrade to the tight end position. He wouldn't be Gronk or anything like top tier, but he would definitely not be in the bottom tier of the league. He would probably be somewhere in the top 15 tight ends in the league in terms of receiving. So Tyler Eifert is probably the option, but we'll have to see what they do. Edge. I think edge is a position that New England needs. I mean, Kyle Van Noy is going to leave. They have Winovich, who I think he's going to see a massive jump this year. I think he's going to be really good. I could see him having like 10 sacks this season. They still have John Simon, and he's not bad. He was a starting player for them last year. He's pretty good. Dietrich Wise is there, defensive line. Lawrence Guy is still there. Adam Butler. These kind of work in conjunction. Danny Shelton is leaving. Jamie Collins is probably going to leave. We'll have to see, though. Landon Roberts at linebacker. He was more of a special team and actual fullback than linebacker, but he could leave as well. So when looking at the linebacker and edge position, because for New England, they kind of do the same thing. I think Dante Hightower and Juwan Bentley are your linebackers next year, and I think that's perfectly fine because they're both good players, especially Hightower. Actually, Hightower had a really good year last year. Collins, if you could bring him back, you would welcome it because he can do both. Hightower might have to move to the edge, and you might have to bring in a linebacker or draft one, more an athletic guy. We'll have to see if they do that. At the edge position, though, there's a lot of options. You could go with Jordan Jenkins from the Jets. You could go with Pierre Paul, which I think would be awesome. I don't think you're going to go after a top-tier name, but you could go after Mario Addison. You could go after Vic Beasley. You could go after Carl Nassib, Ogba, probably Sheard maybe for a reunion. You could go after a lot of these different guys. Fackrell from Green Bay. These kind of hybrid linebacker edge players that I think would fit the defense very well. Yeah, those are probably the names that stick out. They don't need corners. I suspect Devin McCourty will be back. Their safety position is solid, but I think they would probably spend a draft pick on safety if they wanted to. And, of course, left guard. Now, left guard, Froholt is probably, the rookie from last year, is probably going to be the starter this year. But I do think that if they don't draft somebody high, he'll be the starter. I think they could bring in like a lower tier guy that maybe started some games somewhere, and then they'll try him out as depth. David Andrews should be back at center, so I don't really see that as a need so much, but you might bring in a veteran that's played some games in case Andrews has health issues. That is my take on the Patriots, and I think I addressed pretty much everything there. So, and I just want to mention running back is interesting. I've seen some rumors like Melvin Gordon and stuff. That would be kind of cool, but like he's also friends with James White. But like Sony Michel, I think he had a bad year last year because he was playing, like he came back from an injury. So I don't know, he's interesting. You need to get production out of him next year or else you have to move on. I could see them moving on from Burkhead because of the cap number. Damian Harris is also there, who didn't really play last year but was drafted in the 3rd round. So we'll see if he gets some playing time next year. But I think they stay pat at running back, but we'll have to see.